You're kidding. Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song. I'm hung up in a grave situation.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode, I think, 138 of the Rotten Views podcast, because we're doing this podcast early, as always. No, I shouldn't say as always, just lately we've been able to get the episodes out early, and I think this is like 2 weeks ahead of time, 3 weeks ahead of time at this point in time, so it's good. We are going to keep this rolling. I want to try and get like 10 episodes ahead, that way I have more time to get other things done. That's the game plan, but we'll see what happens. I'll probably screw up at some point and forget to do an episode here or there, and then I'll be back to square one, because I'm good at doing that, because I lose track of time. There's not enough time in the day to get everything done that you want to get done, and I'm sure everyone else can relate to that. And that's fine. That's just the joys of being an adult. Can I go back to the 90s, be a kid outright, please? Is there a time machine? Can I just live in the 90s? That'd be fun. All the old school commercials and stuff. I like those. I like that stuff a lot more than this crap nowadays. I don't even watch commercials. I don't have actual TV. I only have, these apps and streaming services that don't have commercials. But every now and then I like to put on a YouTube video that has old TV broadcasting, like the movie from last week, that has the original TV intro and outro and whatnot, just for fun. But then again, I'm just a weird person. I like that retro nostalgic stuff, but that's besides the point. I just want to say thank you, as always. I'm just going to put some promotion and stuff out here at the beginning. Thank you for everyone who's been checking out the podcast. I appreciate it. Keep the sharing up, keep the reviews up. I appreciate everything you guys have been doing on Spotify. I believe I'm up to, it's not a crazy number, but I think I'm up to like 30 subscribers on Spotify. I'm not sure when the subscriber count, I'm not sure how well it works and how many of you are actually being active, but I appreciate it nonetheless, and I appreciate everyone else, and I appreciate everyone checking out the YouTube channel. We are doing well on that. I'm getting a fairly good amount of views, more than I ever expected to do. I know when I attempted to do the YouTube channel probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I was getting next to nothing for views. I'll be honest, I could never find my niche and breakthrough. But now that I'm trying it the second time, I'm actually doing well, putting a wide variety of content. We got the podcast videos, we got the full length video, like gameplay, let's plays, and then we got the art videos, which is what's going to be on the YouTube channel. I might add in one more thing, like a reaction side thing, but I'm not really too sure on that yet, because I did try to do one reaction video and the copyright strikes are just crazy. So don't know how these channels get away with doing it, but we'll see, and we'll go from there. So my plan is to keep this ball rolling, keep everything going, keep the views coming in, and just create a nice community. I'm not sure if there's ever going to be a plan for a Patreon down the road. We'll see what happens. But I do want to create maybe like a Discord community so everyone can keep in touch. If the people want to keep in touch. I'm not sure how many of the new viewers I'm getting are going to stay and stick around. Hopefully everyone does, but I assume with it being YouTube and everything else and all the other things I'm doing, that not everyone's going to want to stick around, because content's going to change after a while. Like I said, I'm always doing art, but sometimes it might be a portrait, sometimes it might be a horror piece, sometimes it might be a cartoon or anime piece or a comic book piece. I'm just drawing the things I enjoy drawing, because why not? I'm an artist and I want to draw things I enjoy. I don't want to draw things that make me miserable, because what's the point in doing artwork then? I also want to draw the things that people enjoy seeing, so I gotta find that happy niche, which seems to always change. It all depends on what time I'm posting stuff at. So I gotta figure all the the logistics and the analyze out and figure out what's best. But yeah, enough of that. I know you guys aren't here to listen to me talk about my artwork or my YouTube channel and whatnot, but that's also a thing that we're always doing. We're going to be talking about a movie that I watched for free on YouTube definitely. I love watching these movies on YouTube. Just finding movies that aren't on even like things like Tubi or Plex. These hard to find movies that you've never even heard of before. Which I picked this one at random last week. It's The Dark from 1994, which I didn't also know there's another movie called The Dark from 1979, I believe, which we're actually gonna watch after this one because it sounds really cool. I think it's like alien werewolves or something along those lines is the other one. Yeah, so the premise of the other one is a news reporter is hunting down a killing spree by alien werewolf from blue jeans. That instantly has my attention, and I need to watch this because it feels like a trauma movie, and we are going to watch it because it sounds like fun. But that's next week. It's also free on YouTube as well that I found out. But the one we are watching today is from 1993, which I didn't even notice when picking it last week, that there's a zombie movie, an indie zombie movie, if you really want to call it. It's a virus movie called Pontypool that came out a while ago. It's a Canadian movie, and this movie is also starring the same guy, Stephen McHattie, which I've never actually seen him in another movie aside from Pontypool, which is a zombie infection movie based around just solely a radio station, which I thought was amazing. But this movie, it ain't so bad. It's alright. Ain't nothing great by any means. So yeah, we'll just get right into talking about this movie. This movie, The Dark, was from 1994. It's a horror movie for an hour and 25 minutes. It's got 4.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 48% on Real Good, whatever the hell that app is. And apparently there's another rating site. Blu-ray.com has it for 5.9 out of 10. I don't know why these sites are coming up, but whatever. 89% of Google users like this video. It just says the initial release was 1994. It doesn't even say like what day, what month, nothing. It's directed by Craig Price, which upon looking up him on IMDb, there's going to be just a couple things I'm going to check out by him, because afterwards it goes weird and I don't care to check out any of his stuff. The first movie he ever directed was Revenge of the Radioactive Reporter from 1990. Interesting title. I need to watch it because the cover image looks very nice as well. Then after that, in 93, he did this movie that we're talking about today, The Dark. And then he did an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark and an episode of Goosebumps TV series from 1997, which I'm curious which episode he did. So we're going to be checking those out as well. If I could do a Goosebumps miniseries on breaking down each episode, that'd be fun too. I'd be definitely up for that. I don't think there's much for actors who are well known. Like we also have Nev Campbell, who plays like officer in the movie later on. But someone else who caught my attention is Brian. I don't know if it's pronounced Brian like my name, because it's Brion. Brian James. He plays Buckner. He's an asshole character, but he's also from Blade Runner and Another 48 Hours, which are the two movies I remember from. He's also from The Fifth Element. I have to revisit that movie. I've only seen it once or twice, I think, at the most. So it's definitely a movie I'm going to have to revisit. But I just wanted to point him out. But something else that's also coming up on IMDb is the guy who plays Carl Miller, Scott Wickware. On his IMDb picture, he has the character from Goosebumps as his main thing, which I'm kind of curious which character. I remember the episode. It's the superhero one, but he's also his highest rated movie by the looks of it is a 6.9, where he plays Dupree in Traitor. I haven't watched that. He's also the guard at the throat in Land of the Dead. I don't remember that character at all. He's also in The Man with Eugene Levy and Samuel L. Jackson. But I'm more curious upon clicking on him what the character name is in Goosebumps, because I'm a Goosebump nerd. He actually plays a couple, like I guess. He's in 6 episodes of Goosebumps. He plays Hard Hat Worker, but the one I'm talking about is the Masked Mutant. I thought there was a different name, but apparently, yeah, just the Masked Mutant is what they're calling it. So, the more you know. So, quick synopsis of this movie. IMDb has a much bigger one than the Google. Something is alive beneath the surface of the graveyard. Something with the power to destroy and the power to heal. One man, a cop, is determined to kill this mysterious creature. Another, a scientist, is determined to capture and save this miraculous being. Stalking the creature in its subterranean habitat, neither man is aware of the battle they are about to start. A battle for science, survival, and revenge. Makes it sound so much cooler than it is. spoiler, I guess. I'm not saying that its movie is bad by any means. It's just not as great as I hoped it would be. It's kind of just, treading that middle line that some movies just do. They're not great, but they're not horrible either. The tagline is, "It will consume you." It's apparently rated R, which I thought was kind of interesting. And apparently trivia is, this is Neve Campbell's big screen debut, the chick from Scream. Goose, the Smith headstone falls into the tunnel and is not recovered, but when Ed and Jake go the next day, the identical headstone is firmly planted in the ground, even as Ed wonders where it is. Because Ed's an idiot, but that's besides the point. So we'll just leave that little tidbit there. I'll also say I enjoy the cover image. That's a big thing that draws me into movies, is what they do for a cover image, and it's a very nice drawn piece. I believe it's a drawn piece, or if not, it's a very nice photograph, but it looks like it's a hand drawn piece. Because back then, the people who actually got hired to do the covers, fucking a talented son of a bitches, far beyond my means ever. But yeah, it probably is Ed standing with the shovel, and then underneath we see the grass and then the dirt, and it just says, "The dark, it will consume you." Just very nice.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
It has stalked the Earth for over 2 million years.
Point is, you saw nothing, understand? What if I can't? Bro, man, just get the hell out of here! What do we do now? I say we kill it.
Arnold, help me!
Some secretion that the creature naturally produces saved my life.
That's impossible.
You think I'm in this for the money? How much money would this thing be worth? I happen to know it's worth something dead, too. What is this, bait? No, we're gonna need something a lot fresher than this for bait. What a smell. Be careful, man.
In the dark, its secret has remained a mystery.
It's a carnivorous scavenger. It eats the dead.
Until now, it's unstoppable. And it will consume you.
Hope I'm the only one in here who's hungry.
The dark.
Anyways, the movie starts out with this classic 90s Alliance Atlantis shot, which I totally forgot about that even being a goddamn company, to be honest with you. But that brings back the memories. Hardcore. Then we jump right into the intro credits, and then the title pops up midway through the intro credits as it's almost like a suspense action sounding music starts playing, and you really don't know what you're getting set up to be watching. Then we see a shot of this stormy night as we are in the graveyard to start off the movie. We pan through the graveyard looking at the various headstones as the thunder starts to crackle through, and we see our lead in front of the headstone drinking, mourning the death of his wife, which for whatever reason, when I first looked the movie up, what I do is I like to look it up on Google and write down the characters' names so I know them. I've been putting a little bit of research in, not a whole lot, kind of still going on the fly, but I want to do this one properly and the last one. For whatever reason, on Google it says Stephen Mahadi's character is Randall. On IMDb they call him Hunter, and I've heard them call him Hunter a couple times in the movie, so I'm not sure if Randall was the name before the script got changed. I'm not really too sure, but it is what it is. Also, before we get too far in the movie, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you. I appreciate that. But also, I will be talking about this movie from start to finish, hitting all the main points and some minor points as well that, just catch my attention. So if you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to pause this episode right now. Go on, type it up on YouTube. Make sure you watch the right one and watch it, and then come back and listen to the podcast. Hopefully, we'll come back and listen to the podcast because we need you here, and I appreciate you being here as a listener. It does mean a lot to me. So as that being said, feel free to do that now. If not, just listen to the podcast and listen to me talk about it. Maybe if listening to me talk about it will make you want to watch the movie, or it'll make you never want to watch the movie. It could go either way. At this point, that I know our lead is Stephen Mahadi. I didn't include him when I was looking up on Google. I'm like, shit, I remember this guy from Pontypool. Definitely go check that movie out. I'm sure it's streaming on somewhere. But yeah, it's a movie that just pretty much takes place in one location. There's some other shots outside, but it's just based around this radio station and them dealing with a zombie apocalypse, an infection of sorts starting. Definitely very cool. Anyways, onto the movie at hand. Then off in the distance we hear an animal of some sort moving through the bushes, and then we see two, they call themselves FBI agents, apparently, with guns looking for said animal, going to shoot and kill it. And one guy wants to call for backup, but the other guy, Buckner, is like, no, let's get the job done. Let's just go kill it and get it done over with. We're FBI agents. We know what we're doing. We cut back to who I thought was Rando, but we're going to say Hunter. He's still staring at his wife's headstone as he hears some screaming gunshots off in the woods. And then we see one of the guys with the gun, like the FBI guys, running to the sound. And that's when we just see a severed arm on the ground and just blood all over the place. So Buckner is the guy who's found his buddy's severed arm. He starts shooting into the bush. At this point in time, I must have looked away for a quick second because I didn't think that's what happened. I thought Hunter. I thought Hunter was just running away, but come to find out, he was actually hiding in the bush, and he accidentally got shot by the officer, and that's why he was running, because of the shots, and then he fell over because, you got shot in, I think, the chest. But then at that point in time, we also hear what we think is the monster coming closer, but it's actually Buckner, apparently, because Buckner takes him back to the police station to get him all healed up and, better. That's the next day, probably, and we cut to Buckner as he's showing up back at the office, and he's going into the questioning room where we have Hunter at the table. He's all bloody, and Buckner's pretty much like, you're just lucky to be alive. He's like, I'm healing up really good too. It's kind of crazy, to be honest with you, because he has no idea what's going on. Anyways, Buckner starts questioning, wondering what he saw in the woods. He's like, to be honest with you, I was there to visit my wife's grave. I heard some screams and some gunshots. I was just trying to get out of the area, and you shot me. He's like, well, what else you see? I don't know. I heard some animal screams or something. He's like, how about you just say you saw nothing? You're lucky to be alive. How about we just leave it at that? Hunter wants to know who the officers were chasing, but Buckner won't say a word about it, and that's when Hunter mentions he's a scientist for whatever reason. I don't know why. And then Hunter won't stop asking questions to Buckner, so Buckner gets all pissed off and starts beating him up, and pretty much putting his foot on Hunter's throat, saying you're lucky to be alive. Then he leaves the room and he tells the other agent, oh yeah, he's crazy. He came running at me. I had to knock him down a few pegs. I should get a doctor to go look at him. And so we see Buckner is now that kind of FBI agent. He plays a dickhead in probably every movie that he's in, most likely, I assume. We then see Hunter driving through some cemeteries, and he's making a list on like a road map, or like crossing off cemeteries on a road map, just to kind of keep track of things, because now he's hunting after this creature as well, even though he knows nothing about it other than he I guess can tell that it can heal from something. I'm not sure if he accidentally gets the slime on him. I don't know how he heals up, but it is what it is. And we see this very big white house. It's actually a house that is on like the cemetery grounds. It's kind of like the groundskeeper house, but it's super big. It's a massive fucking house. Anyways, we then see inside the house there's a guy named Jake who's waking up a younger guy named Ed. He's got a cigarette in his face, and he's pretty much just blowing right in his face. He's like, I'm gonna have to bury you at some point in time because you're gonna die from all the cigarette smoke. And then we see the two of them outside. Jake is like, love the smell of death in the morning. It just wakes you right up. It's such a good smell. As they go to the barn to try and get the loader, the backhoe started, because they're going to go get ready to dig up a plot so someone can be buried in it later that day, or maybe in the next coming days. I'm not sure when. But of course, it doesn't want to start. So they go start again. It starts to spark a bit, and then a small fire starts, and then Ed jumps out of the way, saying it's going to blow up because he's a chicken shit. He's scared of fucking everything. And then Jake gives Ed a shovel, and he's like, well, let's go do our job. We're going to have to do it the old hard way and dig it out ourselves. And Ed doesn't seem excited about that at all, which I wouldn't be either, because that probably would be a pain in the ass. But oh well, it is what it is. You signed up for the job, so do it. At this point, we then cut to Hunter in this little diner where he seems to be an out-of-towner, because the waitress is like, well, what brings you here to this little piece of shit town, huh? Then the cook tells her, you get some more tips if you show your tits off more. And she's like, oh, fucking assholes. Then when there's another guy at the bar who's apparently a biker who's a straight up asshole to her and calls her bitch. And she's like, see that name tag? Doesn't say bitch now, does it, asshole? But then she starts talking to Hunter, saying how she's trying to save up money and apparently move out west because, she doesn't like this job and she hates it and wants to get out of this town. We cut back to Ed and Jake is wondering why he's working there, because Jake's the older guy and Ed's this younger, like, teenager. Or a young adult, I should say. Because apparently Jake mentions that Ed's dad owns half the town. And apparently Ed says, no, my dad wants me to learn the value of $1. God forbid I do some actual honest work here. Then Jake says, the first time you break ground on a new grave, the dead wake up. but only for a minute. Then one of the guys at the diner is a straight up asshole, like I said, calling her a bitch, and then he grabs her because she spills coffee on him because she's completely tired of his bullshit, which is understandable. And he's like, you're gonna clean this up. That's when Hunter steps in and grabs the guy by the throat and literally throws him outside the diner through the glass door. Then the cook Al comes and tells everyone to get the hell out because the biker brings in two other buddies to beat the shit out of Hunter, and Al now has a shotgun in hand, but one of the bikers actually shoots Al, and then two of the other buddies start beating the crap out of Hunter, because apparently they get him like caught off on guard. At this point, then the waitress jumps over the counter and grabs the shotgun that Al had, and she shoots in the air to give them a warning shot to let Hunter go. At that point in time, the dickhead guy from the diner is like, shoot me then. So she actually does shoot him right in the leg. She's like, next time it's gonna be a direct shot in the crotch. So they get away. For a reason, apparently Hunter is now like a biker as well, because they get on this bike and the waitress comes with them, and she still has a shotgun, and they do like a little circle, half circle around. He's like, shoot the bicycles or the motorcycles behind us. So she does, and they all blow up like a fucking action movie. As they drive away from their explosion like a badass always does, we see Buckner's also sitting in his car watching the whole time. Apparently he's been tracking Hunter the whole time, maybe, we assume. Then we see Jake and Ed still digging out a plot, and he's showing Ed the proper way to dig a grave and how to make it sturdy so everything doesn't cave in and whatnot. So they have a nice proper burial spot. Then they take a smoke break, and we find out even in the day Ed gets the creeps from being in the graveyard because he's just chicken shit. And that's when we then see a tombstone get sunken into the ground. He's like, must be a gopher problem. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. Gophers are digging holes and trails and stuff, and that's why that fell through. Weak ground, no big deal. It's at this point they're looking over at it, and Ed's mentioned how it must be super big gophers, because that's what Jake originally thought it was. And they find a hollow spot, and Jake starts jumping on it, and his leg actually goes through the hole. At this point in time, underneath the ground, we see the monster kind of looking at the leg, and we think he's going to grab him, but he actually doesn't grab him. Then they start looking down the hole, and they say it's a tunnel. Then Ed says maybe someone was buried alive, and they had to dig their way out. Instead of digging up, they just dug a tunnel system instead, because that makes sense, right? We then see it's nighttime, and Hunter and the waitress are now holding up in a hotel room, and the waitress doesn't want to go home at all. He's like, well, don't you have anything you want or need from home? She's like, no, not really. I'm good. I'll stay with you. Then we find out Hunter was stabbed in the stomach at some point and is refusing to go to the hospital. That just so happens he's carrying a medical case, so the waitress cleans him up. Then we find out the waitress started working at the diner when she spent all her life savings to take care of her father that got ill, and now that he's gone, she's just moving around a lot from pretty much spot to spot, trying to find her home and somewhere where she's going to be happy in a job she's going to be happy with. Hunter also has this like medical black goop that's actually from the creature, we find out, and he puts it on his wounds, and apparently this medical black goop actually heals your wounds almost instantly. Kind of freaked out about it. She's like, what is? And he's like, I'm a scientist, don't worry about it. It's special goop, just put it on my wound, please, and let's get this done and over with. And then within seconds he pretends to be asleep and peeks at her as she's getting changed to go to bed with him, and then he tells her to leave the lamp on because he hates the dark. He's afraid of the dark. We now see the backhoe's fixed finally as they're going back to the spot where the headstone fell through the ground, but now the headstone is apparently missing, even though in the goof is apparently up the whole time. I didn't catch the name on it beforehand, but apparently it's the one that Ed's literally standing right beside. Then Ed is looking around and he falls through this other hole, and we see he's got the shovel just across the hole, just holding on. That's the only thing that's keeping him above the ground, as we see the creature kind of just peeking at him in the tunnel system. Then they use the backhoe to dig in the ground a bit, and they find out the tunnel is a lot bigger than they thought it was. So Jake goes to make a phone call because he's like, this is out of my job description, I'm not doing this extra work. And then we cut back to Hunter and the waitress in bed, and he has a groping issue, and then of course they have sex like it's an 80s montage movie. It's now the next day, and we see that the waitress gets up before Randall does, so she decides to start snooping through his stuff, finds his notebook full of drawings and paperwork of the monster, but also finds a picture of his wife, and she's like, oh fuck, he's married, god damn it, I did it again. Anyways, he wakes up and she's like, what are you doing with my stuff? He's like, this is your stuff? Oh, I just thought they left it in the hotel room, my bad. She gets all upset because she thinks he's married, and that's when he's mentioned, she's like, my wife's been dead for 3 years. Thank you for snooping, though. And then he's getting ready because she's like, well, what do you think? You can just save my life, have sex with me and then just leave me on the side of the road? Is that what your plan is? And he's like, you don't want to come with me. It's not going to be good for you. But then he's like, I'm going to go outside, get your shit on, let's go. And apparently he mentions, or we find out that he knows that the creature is feeding on people in the graveyards because he doesn't like to hunt for his food, so it's a scavenger of sorts. So it likes to have food that's already been dead for a few years, apparently. Then we see Jake is eating, and Ed is freaking out because he thinks there's like this underground colony of aliens. And then Jake starts joking about radioactive giant mutant gophers, and Ed thinks, he's like, oh wow, you actually might be onto something there, to be honest with you. And then there's a knock at the door, and Jake plays it up. He's like, oh, I invite the aliens for dinner, just so you know. And it's actually they open the door, and it's actually two officers who said they couldn't come till the next day, but apparently they got some extra time, so they're like, we'll just go do it now and get done with. And the officer's like, oh, let's go check out the spot and see what's going on. And Ed's like, don't you want to like come tomorrow and do that, because like it's dark outside. And Jake's like, he's a lot smarter than he actually looks and sounds, so don't worry about him. Then we see them down at the spot where the hole is, and with some lanterns, and we find out the hole should have had a coffin inside of it, and that the coffin literally got pulled through. I find out that the one cop's name is Jessie, and that's Neve Campbell's character, and she's like a love interest of Ed, who apparently Ed kind of like ditches her because she never calls her back because he's a dickhead or a chicken shit. And the other cop, I forget his name, but anyways, he wants to go check the hole, which isn't a smart idea, because you can tell the monster's inside looking like out the hole. You can't really see it in the shot when you're looking in, but you can definitely see the light from the lanterns poking through the hole. Then Jesse goes to grab a light and out of the police car, and that's when this like APV comes off the radio about Hunter and the waitress, and how they're armed and dangerous because of the diner incident. Then we find out the cop plans on climbing into the hole with his light and a rope to figure out how deep it goes. And that once he gets in the hole, though, it opens up, which is kind of crazy. I didn't expect it. Anyways, Jake tells the cop to be careful. The tunnel is probably unstable, and no one seems to be pretty excited about the whole idea of the cop actually going into the tunnel to see how far it goes. The cop loads his gun, and Ed's like, well, what's that for? He's like, safety in case I come across some big giant worms. And then Jake jokes, he's like, or radioactive gophers, just so you know. We see him inside the tunnel, and at this point it's a lot bigger in size because he's actually walking. He's standing up walking through the tunnel. It's not what I pictured, because when you're looking in the hole, it just looks like a hole big enough for a casket to slide through. And it's at that point when he gets a little bit farther into the tunnel, Ed's just like, yeah, Jake, he's dead meat. Definitely gonna be dead meat. He's gonna die. We see the cop in the tunnel, and he says, if you hear me, just tug on the rope. And they literally yank on the rope, and it pretty much bends him over backwards. He's like, I didn't say cut me in half, assholes. He's in the tunnel, and he finds out some sort of black goo in the tunnel, and then he he's filling up his kind of goopy, and then of course his flashlight starts to die, and then we see the creature coming closer to him, and then he lights his lighter, and the creature scares him, and the rope gets literally ripped out of Jesse's hand to the point where all the skin and everything's ripped off. And then I'm not sure, because it's a very grainy, dark shot. I'm not sure if Jake tries to go in to save him or not, because at one point we see Jake getting ripped into the tunnel as well by the monster, but Ed saves him in time, and he doesn't die at this point in time. Then as Ed is running away, scared like a chicken shit, he bumps into Hunter and the waitress and screams that they're all going to die. And he says, like, the creature must be here then. Then we see Ed and Jake tending to Jesse's wounds on her problems, as they're pretty much like the rope burnt off all the skin. And then Jesse goes to call for help off the phone, but Hunter comes in and pulls the phone off. He's like, yeah, actually, I'm going to have you sit down and not make any phone calls, to be honest with you. Then he gives the waitress the gun to cover everyone, because they're pretty much holding them at their will. And that's when Rando goes to, Hunter goes to tend to Jesse's wounds on the hand with the black goop from the monster that he has in his medical kit. And then we see the chief getting a call from the dead cop's wife, being like, hey, my husband hasn't made it home yet. Was he still at work, or is he still at work? He's like, oh no, he should have been done a while ago. I'll actually, on my way home, I'm done here in a few minutes. I'll stop by where he was at, and we'll see what's going on, and I'll figure it out for you. Then Hunter says it's the monster is territorial, so as long as you don't go into its area, it'll be fine. It won't attack you at all, so he says. And it attacked Gabe, which is the other officer, because he went into the tunnel, and it's his own fucking fault for being attacked, because you don't just walk into someone's house and not knock first. So that's what happens to him. And then Hunter says it's some sort of prehistoric creature, but this one is multiple times bigger than the usual kind it was, or the usual bone system that they have. Then Hunter is telling them they can't tell anyone about the creature yet, because there's other people out there that are looking for the creature to kill it, and Hunter wants to keep it alive so he can run research on it to figure out how it's able to heal, because he's like, it's going to be a scientific wonder to be able to figure out how it produces this black goo so that we can have it, so we can heal our wounds and whatnot. And then Hunter says it's just an animal and it feeds on the dead, and that's why it's here, because it's feeding on the dead in the graveyard, and the black stuff he's been putting on his wounds is from the monster, and that he wants to slay it for that purpose. So I'm not sure if he picked the black goo up because it was wounded and he just kind of just scooped it up. I'm not sure how that worked out, but he's got the black goo. Hunter is asking for just one shot because he wants everyone's help to try and capture the creature, because that's all he wants to do. He just wants to capture it. Then Jake says, well, if it comes at me, I'm going to kill it. And Hunter's like, that's very fair. That's understandable, and I understand that. And then we find out Hunter is needing a coffin for his plan for some reason, which I didn't clue in at first, but then after a while it made sense to me. It's at this point that Hunter, Jake, and Ed go off to go get a casket or a coffin, whatever you want to call it. And then Jesse and the waitress are off to the car to get, or just to call in to let dispatch know that they're okay. And that's when Jesse's wondering what happened at the diner, and she mentions how everything was just self-defense and they didn't do anything wrong. And then we cut to the three guys walking through the graveyard, and Ed and Jake are wondering how much money they'll be getting if they catch the monster alive. And Hunter's just like, you know what, haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you, but I'll cut you in on whatever we get. Don't worry about it. They go into this room that has a coffin, and apparently the body inside the coffin has been dead for at least 80 years, so the smell is a little bit stenchy. Jesse calls in the dispatch to let them know that they are okay. And that's when we then hear that the chief is on his way, because they haven't called in a while. And that's when we then hear some noise coming from underneath the car, and they get scared and start to run. And that's when the waitress falls through the ground, and she starts staring right at the creature face to face. And Jesse tells her, just talk nice to it. Then, it's more scared of you than you are of it. So just slowly move away and talk nice to it. Be nice to it. And she tries to get out of the hole, and then the chief shows up and starts shooting his gun, wondering what the hell's going on. And then the creature grabs at his leg, so he starts shooting at the ground. They're like yelling. I'm like, no, just stop attacking it. You don't attack it, it won't attack you. And that's when he then gets ripped into the ground, and the girls start running into the house scared shitless. As the waitress running through the house, she actually bumps into Hunter and gets somewhat annoyed, because she's like, I thought you said it wouldn't attack if we weren't in his territory. It just tried to kill us, you asshole. Not in that terms, but something like that. Then Jesse, Ed, and Jake go out to see the hole that the other cop dies in, and they're met with Buckner, who walks them into the house. He's like, why don't we just kill it, guys? But anyways, he's holding them at gunpoint because he's an asshole, and he just is. Then Buckner takes Jesse's gun and orders everyone to go down to the basement. Ed doesn't want to go downstairs because he's afraid of the dark and everything else, so why would he want to go in the basement? Then we find out Buckner is allowing Jake to stay up because apparently they kind of made some sort of deal, or he's using Jake, one of the two. Then Ed mentions that the basement floor is dirt, so Randall starts jumping around until he finds the hollow spot, so then he starts digging the floor out because he wants to go through the tunnel system. We see Buckner and Jake outside looking into the hole, asking what their plan is to find the monster. Then the waitress asks Hunter what his plan is with the coffin. He's like, well, my main plan is to bury myself so the creature has some live bait, essentially. And we find out he has tranquilizer on him, which he's hoping to be able to tranquilize the monster, but he's got to be right on it, essentially, for it to work. We see them going through the hole that they made in the basement. They're actually using the tunnel system to come out one of the other holes that the monster made, so they're above ground now again. Then we cut and see Jesse and everyone else coming out of the other hole, like I said, and then we see Jake and Buckner walking around, and Buckner says the creature likes fresh meat as they're going to various grave slots. And at this point in time, I just thought Buckner was going to shoot him in the back of the head, but he doesn't. And then we see Hunter and the group lowering the casket into the ground as Randall gets his tranquilizer ready, and he's claiming that it's strong enough to even take down an elephant. He gives the waitress tracking device so they can follow him if he gets grabbed, because at this point he believes that the monster is going to come grab the coffin and carry it back to the litter, wherever that might be, and then it feeds on the body inside afterward. And then they have their romantic final goodbye kind of style kiss. We see Hunter getting into the casket and starting a light because he mentions again how he's afraid of the dark. And we see Jake still talking about the bodies in the ground and how long they've been buried and whatnot, and Bunker points a gun at him because he just feels like Jake has given the run around, and Jake's going to become the fresh bait, essentially. Hunter has a great one-liner in the casket by saying, I hope I'm not the only one who's hungry down here. Then Buckner accuses Jake of leading him around on a wild goose chase in circles, and then Jake decks him, knocking him to the ground, and he steals his gun, only to find out that Buckner has another gun and that the clip is dislodged in Jake's gun. So then Buckner shoots Jake in the stomach and ties up his feet with handcuffs or something, or maybe zip ties, and literally is using him as live bait. Then in the casket, Randall hears the monster outside of it, and we see the casket slowly starting to move. They start following him with the tracking device, and the signal starts to get weak, assuming that the tunnel is now starting to go deeper and deeper down. Then we see Buckner drop Jake down in a hole, saying, it's survival of the fittest, buddy. Then Hunter is in the casket, and the door opens up by the monster, and he literally screams at the monster holding the light, and then the monster literally just slams the door down. Hunter's like, great, let's piss him off more. That's great for me. We now see Jake down the hole, holding his stomach from, losing so much blood, and the monster getting closer and closer to him, and he's grabbed, and then Buckner goes down the hole, but the monster is gone. There's something else that happened, like, split second. We see Ed sneaking around with a shovel, and he goes to attack Buckner, but Buckner actually shoots him in the stomach, and then he has to go down the hole to try and chase after the monster. We now see Hunter facing down the creature as it gets closer and starts sniffing him. It starts like head nudging him like a dog or a cat would do to like show affection, essentially. And then Buckner is in the tunnel and starts shooting a random pipe, and water starts filling up, and that catches the creature's attention because it's all hunting by sounds. We then see the waitress going down the hole, and she tells Jake he's going to be okay, and that Jesse's going to come take care of him, and Jake just tells him to go kill Buckner. We see the tunnel system slowly starting to fill up with water from that pipe that Buckner shot. I'm assuming we can assume it's a main water line that goes to the house and for everything else. I'm not sure why it'd be underneath, but whatever. I went to high school that was surrounded by graveyards, and they claimed the water ran through the graveyards, but that's besides the point. Jesse goes down to help Jake, but he's saying how it's too late for him, and then I guess he just literally drives on the spot, and then she's leaving the hole, and Ed's like, you can't just leave him down there, because she's saying she's going to go get help or call for help, and that's when she's like, yeah, Jake is actually gone. And he kind of has this, shocking look on his face, because, it seems like it's his only friend, essentially, in this whole town that actually puts up with him. And then he's like, well, Jesse, we can't leave him down there. I gotta get my buddy back. We find out that the waitress follows the tracking device, but at some point, Hunter drops in the water. She's like, God damn it. So then she's on a search in the darkness on her own. Hunter's in the tunnel, and then he sees the shadow of Buckner coming, so he goes back in a different spot. And then Buckner finds the monster, the creature, and starts shooting it in front of Hunter, and Hunter gets pissed off and starts trying to protect the monster by attacking Buckner in the water, which is now like waist deep. Then the monster comes out of the hip high water and starts attacking Buckner and takes him underwater, and we could just assume he's dead, or is he? We then see Hunter and the waitress meeting up with each other in the tunnel. He says he thinks the creature got Buckner, and she says good. And then Jesse goes to help with Ed's shoulder wound, and he starts breaking down his feelings to her, and she's like, it's just a shoulder wound, you're not dying, don't worry about it. We then see Hunter and the waitress coming out of the hole by Ed and Jesse, because apparently even though there's a big tunnel system, they still find the right hole that leads them to their friends. It makes sense, it's fine. That's when Hunter says the tunnel is pretty much flooded now, and then we see the wounded creature actually come out of the hole as well after them. And then, of course, Buckner's not goddamn dead. He comes out of fucking another hole down the yard somewhere, and at this point the waitress somehow, I'm not sure how she's such a great fucking shot. Buckner has a gun in his hand, but she shoots the gun out of his hand, so then Buckner starts chasing right at Hunter, and Hunter pulls out the tranquilizer and gets him right in the stomach with it, and pretty much instantly passes out on top of Hunter and takes him down to the ground. They get Buckner off of him, and they're just like, well, how long's he out for? And Hunter's just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. He's probably dead. It was strong enough to take out an elephant. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be dead finally. Hunter is then looking over the creature's wounds, and apparently the wounds are too serious that it won't be able to heal itself, or they are not able to help heal it. And the waitress says the chances are there's probably more of these creatures out somewhere, and then this one actually does die in that instant. And that's like setting up there might be more creatures out there, so how about we just keep hunting these creatures down and not have an actual stable job or a place to live, and we'll just travel the world, going to graveyard like a goddamn creep looking for this monster. And at that point in time, the camera starts to pull out on everyone, and we see another headstone get sunken into the ground, and then the outro credits start to play, and the movie's over just like that. And yeah, it's not a great movie. Like I said, it's got some fun parts. The creature design doesn't look too bad from what we do see. It's very dark shots, so it's all underground. But from what I can tell, from what I saw, it's pretty fun. It's an enjoyable movie. It's not something I'm probably going to watch any time again soon, but it's not bad. And like I said, I like Stephen McHattie, so seeing him in something else other than Pontypool was fun. On the rotten scale, though, of this one, I would give it a 5 out of 10. It's nothing amazing. It plays pretty smoothly and it goes pretty quickly. There's no like super boring spots. There's some stuff they probably could have built on a little bit more, and some more gruesome deaths would have been cool, because we don't even see him kill, but we see the monster apparently kill one FBI agent at the beginning, and that's really it, because it literally rips off the guy's arm. But apparently that kill was also done above ground. It looks like the creature almost never comes above ground, so I'm not sure where the process is on that one. But yeah, on the rest scale, 5 out of 10. Feel free to check it out. It's free on YouTube. Just make sure you click the 1994 movie, because that's the one we just talked about. Which brings us to a movie we're going to watch next week, because it caught my interest. We're going to watch The Dark from 1979, which apparently has nothing to do with this one by the looks of it. It's just its own movie on its own, and I'm excited to go back to the 70s and watch another movie. And it's just, space alien werewolves in blue jeans killing people. It should be fun, I hope. Who knows, maybe there will be like a connection. It's almost the same creature, but these ones are radioactive gophers. But that's besides the point. As always, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band, Blood Opera. You can check out their links all in the description below, but you can find them on YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, Facebook, maybe TikTok. I don't know. Don't quote me on that last one. I'm just talking out my ass on that one. But yeah, also check me out on all social medias at Typhonstein. Links will be down in the link tree as well. But the main one, like always, pushing that YouTube thing, trying to be a YouTuber, trying to get that YouTube money. Yeah, anything that helps, pretty much. But yeah, I'm just trying to make content that people enjoy. So definitely go check that out as well. Check me out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. I think those are the main ones. There might be more, but yeah, just check out the links below. Feel free to suggest me a movie. Leave a comment down below on the YouTube video, or anything that you can leave a comment on, or message the Rotten Views Podcast at Gmail account. Leave some suggestions on what you want to watch. We're gonna have actually another theme month coming up as well. I'm gonna plan it out for next month, and next month is gonna be all. Actually, I think it's going to be actually after this episode, because I got a couple ahead now that I'm looking at the calendar. It's going to be all Godzilla or Kaiju movies. So I'm looking forward to that. A month full of Godzilla big monster movies. Hell yeah. I'm excited for that one. It's been way too long, because I remember coming home from schools, and it'd be like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock at night, and there'd just be the old Godzilla movies playing on the Detroit channel for whatever reason that we had. But yeah, loved it. I love monster movies, and that's probably the thing that started my love for Kaiju and like stuff like Ultraman and Guyver and Gundams and all that kind of fun stuff. Started at a very young age. So yeah, a month full of Godzilla and Kaiju movies. Kaiju? Man, I have a love for it, but I can't even pronounce it right. Just like a lot of things in my life, but that's fine. That's why you guys enjoy coming back, right? You guys do enjoy coming back, right? Anyways, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to hit that share button.
Leave comment, like, review, whatever. And I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
Whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for the shedding?
You used to play that childhood game, didn't you? The one where we chant his name. Was it true? Staring in the mirror, I can say, come to me. I can hear him calling back to me. Be my detective, Candyman, when I say his name again. And then said